All right, so we're diving into a massive stack of notes today on a classic high-yield debate for the NEET PG exams.
A big one.
Yeah, it is. We're looking at unilateral renal agenesis versus the Potter sequence.
And the sources really pit them against each other, asking, which one is the real boss-level topic you need to master?
It's interesting because I think most students just treat them as like two separate chapters.
You do, but when you look at the research, it's not a binary choice. They actually represent two very different kinds of diagnostic thinking.
Okay, so Potter sequence is more about the lethal mechanics, how a single problem just spirals into a systemic disaster.
Precisely. And unilateral renal agenesis, or URA, that's what you call the hidden anchor.
Yeah, it's the clue that helps you solve those really complex multi-system puzzles.
Exactly. So our goal here is to bridge that gap. We need to decode that Potter mnemonic. Really understand the physics behind it.
And then connect that to why the kidneys and the reproductive organs are, what, embryological twins?
That's the key. So let's start with Potter.
The sources are really clear about calling it a sequence, not a syndrome. That distinction's important.
It's critical. A syndrome is usually a bunch of symptoms from one single genetic cause. A sequence is, it's a domino effect.
And it all starts with one domino falling.
Just one. Oligohydramnios.
Low amniotic fluid.
Right. And without that fluid cushion, you get a mechanical chain reaction. The fetus is literally compressed by the uterus.
But the real problem is the lungs, isn't it? They don't get the signal to stretch.
That brings us to the mnemonic, Potter. The P is for pulmonary hypoplasia.
And that is the lethal part.
That's the lethal factor. Students forget that the fetus actually breathes the amniotic fluid to expand the lung tissue.
So no fluid means no expansion. The lungs just stay underdeveloped.
And the baby can't survive outside the womb. It's tragic. So that covers the P and the O for oligohydramnios.
Then you have the physical signs of that compression. The T's and the E.
Twisted face, twisted skin, extremity defects. Yeah, think of it like being vacuum packed.
So you get that flattened parrot beak nose, the low set ears, clubbed feet.
It's all because there was simply no room to grow properly.
And finally, the R renal agenesis, the root cause.
The root cause. No kidneys means no urine, and fetal urine is the amniotic fluid. So the whole cycle is complete.
A mechanical disaster. Okay, let's flip the script. What happens if only one kidney is missing?
Now we're talking about unilateral renal agenesis, and the stats in these articles say it's way, way more common, something like 1 in 1,000 births.
And most of the time, the patient is totally fine.
Completely fine. The other kidney just gets bigger to do the work of two. It's called compensatory hypertrophy.
So here's the exam question, though. If the patient is asymptomatic, why are we so obsessed with it?
Because of the neighbors. This is where you have to put on your embryologist hat for a second.
Okay.
The urinary system and the reproductive system develop from the exact same bit of tissue, the intermediate mesoderm and the mesonephric duct.
I like that. So if the contractor messes up the plumbing for the kidney, they probably messed up the house next door, too.
That is the perfect analogy. URA is what we call a sentinel finding. If you see a missing kidney on a scan, you stop looking at the renal system.
And you start hunting for reproductive problems.
You start hunting. In females, for instance, the notes highlight MRKH syndrome, where the uterus and vagina don't even form.
Or that tongue twister, Hohlen-Werner Wunderlich syndrome.
HWW, a classic triad for any exam. You get a double uterus, an obstructed vagina, and surprise, a missing kidney on the very same side.
And for males, it's Zinner syndrome.
Correct. The male equivalent, you'll see the unilateral renal agenesis, but it's paired with a cyst on the seminal vesicle and a blocked ejaculatory duct.
Which would lead to infertility, I assume.
A major cause of male infertility that gets missed all the time until someone finally notices that kidney is gone.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The kidney's just the breadcrumb trail. Speaking of which, we have to talk about the radiology. The lying down adrenal sign.
This is my favorite visual in the whole stack. So normally the adrenal gland sits on top of the kidney like a little triangular hat.
But if the kidney is missing,
The hat falls on the floor, it loses its shape and lies flat, so it looks linear along the psoas muscle.
so if you see that lying down adrenal, it confirms the kidney never developed in the first place.
Exactly. Which is a huge difference from something like the keyhole sign, right?
Totally different. Keyhole sign means the bladder is dilated because there's a blockage downstream. The plumbing is just backed up.
But a lying down adrenal means the plumbing was never installed to begin with.
Okay, so to pull this all together for everyone listening, Potter sequence is your model for the mechanics of lung failure and compression.
And unilateral renal agenesis is your detective tool for uncovering these hidden reproductive syndromes.
It completely changes how you read the scan then. You're not just checking for a kidney.
You're looking at the story of that patient's entire embryological development.
Which brings us to our final thought. When you see an empty renal fossa on a scan, don't just think missing kidney.
Think of it as the loudest alarm bell you can get for a reproductive crisis just waiting to be discovered. The kidney is usually just the tip of the iceberg.